Not a very good one is the best I can do. I wish I could rearrange the three letters and make it say something else, but I can't. DMA. Why the bar over the end of the A? What's a bar over a decimal mean? It repeats, and that repeats until you're done. So DMA. But it would be cool if I could rearrange it so it was DAM, but I cannot. It just wouldn't work that way. Anyways, drop multiplying that over and over and over. Now, you need to interpret what's given. The last number you see is actually the remainder. Preceding the remainder is a constant. Preceding the constant is an x, and preceding an x is an x squared. Now, you literally divided x plus 3 out of x cubed. It should be an x squared, shouldn't it? If you divided an x cubed by an x, shouldn't you get an x squared? So maybe you can kind of see that there. So when you do your division, this is your quotient, 2x squared minus 5x plus 14. Take away 37 pieces, because that's the remainder. 37 pieces of what? What was the divisor? The divisor was x plus 3. There's your quotient, remainder was synthetic. Everybody's on the same playing field. It's not hard though. It's actually easier than a long division. Give me more time.
Why is it x plus?
That was the divisor. Had we done long division, there would have been an x plus 3 up front. That's why it was x plus 3, because x plus 3 was the divisor.
Why can it not be negative?
Because the divisor was not negative 3. You're doing something called synthetic. What does synthetic literally mean?
Right.
You're doing fake division. This is a very special situation. It only works under the circumstances you're dividing by something linear. All right, before we move on here, here's remainder theorem. If f of negative 1 is a 0, what do you know? If f of negative 1 is 0, what do you know? X is not 1.
0.
X is negative 1 is something you know. What else do you know? X plus 1 is a factor. Thank you. And this over here, this x equals negative 1, is a 0 of the function. Is a 0 of the function. And the other thing you know is it's a factor. That's important because what we're about to be told. You are told f of 4 equals 0. Use this to completely factor that polynomial. So Myra said f of 4 tells her something. It tells her that x is what? No. X is 4. And I think Peyton said it over here. Maybe it was Olivia. What's the known factor? X minus 4. I have my back turned. I couldn't tell if it was Olivia or Peyton. That sounds like it's Peyton. Factor is x minus 4. Now, x minus 4 is linear, isn't it? I get to do synthetic division. What goes in the second floor of that vinculum? Top. What's at the top of the vinculum? 3. What else? Negative 4. Negative 28. Negative 16. What goes outside? What goes over here? 4. The x value goes out there. The factor is x minus 4, change the sign, you get 4. F of 4 says x is 4. X goes out there. All right, you guys take a shot at it. There's your acronym, DMA. By the way, if that's a factor, what's the result going to be? What's the remainder going to be? 0. Drop, multiply and add. One of the easiest things you've ever been able to do is use that. Good, some of you guys have written down the quotient that remains. This is a completely factor problem, so once you figure out what's left, factor it. Remainder, constant, x, factor what you got this one? But you're responsive, factor. Not good. Looks like you did, man. You did.
Yeah. That's good.
If you didn't get a zero, you didn't do that.
What?
All right, I don't think I'm wrong on this, but I think everybody got,
Yeah.
I don't even remember what it is. Is it 3840? I hadn't checked on everybody, but you drop, you multiply, and you add, you multiply, and you add, you multiply, and you add. And not everybody had interpreted this yet. What's the zero? Remainder. What precedes the remainder? Constant. What precedes the constant? What precedes an x? X squared. So we're left with 3x squared plus 8x plus 4. And this talks about completely factoring. That quotient might factor. What's it take to make a 3x squared? Takes a 3x and an x. What's it take to make a 4? 2 and 2. And does that work if you guess and check before? All right, and we have this one. That goes there. Complete factorization. You were given a factor, you factored the rest. That was good though. Looked like everybody got there. Was it bad? Was it tolerable? We'll go tolerable. You can tolerate it. All right, factor this guy, given that f of -2 is 0. What's x? X is -2. What's a known factor? Not -2, +2. So you've already got one, probably 2 more to go. Y'all do it. I'll set it up for you, but y'all do it. I want you to notice that you're getting down to a quadratic. Actually, one of the goals of synthetic division, reduced to a quadratic. This quadratic you can factor by new quadratic formula. Form the same from quadratics.
Why'd you get so? She did.
Right. Time to go to the Q up, huh? Jacob, I never looked at yours, but did you get the negative 10 negative? Alright, did everybody get that? There's only a handful I didn't actually glance at, but it looked like everybody had it. Alright, so we got 3x squared minus 10x minus 8. How do you make the 3x squared? 3x and x. How about the 8? Minus, okay, plus 2 minus 4. Plus 2 minus 4. Because the outside's going to make negative 12, the inside's going to make positive 2. Negative 12 plus 2 is negative 12. And you have your known factor, x plus 2. You don't like it. What's wrong about this? Why don't you like this? Because, oh, that's normal. How do you think the average kid that's built up math since 5th grade? They hadn't liked it, because what happened? They keep messing up. I actually don't want to do this one with synthetic division. It's in your notes for it, but I don't want to do it with synthetic division. Actually, we need to. Shoot. Before we do it with synthetic division, what pattern is that? Before we do that with synthetic division, what pattern is that? Gracie, what is it? It's an AQ minus PQ pattern. That's a 3x cubed. Take away a 2 cubed. How does an AQ minus BQ pattern factor? I think you're working on the second set. What's the first set of puzzles? A minus B. Same, as in soap, as for same. A squared. O stands for opposite, plus AB. AP. No, the last thing in soap is AP. Always what? Positive, so plus B squared. So if I plug in my 3x and my 2, I have 3x minus 2. What am I supposed to do with 3x next? Square it. What's 3x squared? 9x squared. What am I supposed to do with the 3x and the 2 here? Multiply it. What do you get? 6x. What am I supposed to do with 2 there? I get 4. Now, anyways, I want to do this with synthetic division because there's something that needs to be shown here. You know that x minus 2/3 is a factor. What's x? 2/3. Now, you can't just write down 27 ways. Here's something synthetic division requires. We had an x squared, we had an x, we had numbers. We need something called placeholders. There is no x squared. There are no x's. You need placeholders, or it will not work. So I have 0 for x squared, 0 for x, and I have my constant in the order. That's the idea of placeholders. They have to be there. And just work this one together because you know it's got fractions. What do you do with 27? Bring it down all the way through the floor. 2/3 is 27? 18 is right. 0 and 18? 18. 2/3 18? 12. 0 and 12 is 12. Guess what 2/3 12 is? What does it have to be? It has to be 8, kids. Because that was a what? A 0, wasn't it? It was a factor, it was a 0. All right, this looks kind of funny here. This is our remainder, this is our constant, this is our x, this is our x squared. This is weird. We have 27x squared plus 18x plus 12. That's what it's supposed to be. You can pull something out of it, can't you? What is everything divisible by? 3, not 3x, it's 3. 9x squared plus 18x, well, 6x plus 4. This was a factor. It was x minus 2/3. It's supposed to be 3x minus 2. How do I rectify that? Put it back in place. 3 times x is 3x. What happens with 3's and you hit negative 2/3? Cancel minus 2. That's how you rectify it. So they can both yield the same thing. But on one of them you have to know an answer and one of them you don't. One requires an answer, one doesn't. There's only one more we need to get done in your notes. Geometry. You guys gonna do anything other than complain? Alright, what do we have here? You are given the expression for the volume of a rectangular prism, find the expression for the missing dimension. So the volume is known to be 2x cubed plus 7x squared plus 46x plus 40. And you have two side lengths. They're x plus 2 and x plus 4. What are those side lengths to the expression? What is x plus 4 to 2x cubed plus 17x squared plus 46x plus 40? It's a factor, that's right. These are the side lengths. They are also known as factors. So you actually have two known factors. These guys are factors. If these are factors, what are the two x values you already know? So I know that x is negative 2, and I know that x is negative 4. Let's see, I think in that little text box there, it says you can do synthetic division twice. Let's see what's in that little text box. Synthetic division can be done multiple times if the remainder is 0. That's a big if. If and only if the remainder is 0. And I can show you what I mean by that. Second story of your vinculum is going to be a 2, a 17, a 46, and a 40. And pick your poison. You want to use negative 2 or negative 4 first. I'm fine with that. Drop. After we drop, multiply, that would be negative 4. After we multiply, add, that would be 13. Multiply, negative 26, add 20, multiply, negative 40, and you got a 0. So here's what I mean by doing it twice. You've reduced it, is what you've done. You've reduced it from an x cubed down to an x squared. You can reuse what you have. Insert another infinite. But the deal is, what's the remainder have to be? 0. Because if it didn't work, you wouldn't reuse what you have. So the remainder has to be 0. Now you can do the -4. You drop, you multiply, and you add. -4 times 2 is -8. 13 minus 8 is 5. -4 times 5 is -20. And there's your remainder of 0. So what's left? 2x plus, no, 2x plus 5. The 2x squared is pretty common here, kids. For a while, maybe we should be doing this. Remainder constant x. Start with the remainder, move left. But the missing side links, 2x plus 5.
So after you get to 0, you stop. You don't do it.
Well, I don't have anything else to use. Do you have anything else you can plug in?
No, I just didn't know if you like use the 0. That would be
You're done.
cool.
Yes. If somebody keeps giving you numbers you can plug in, you can just keep doing it over and over and over. I think there's another example in your notes if you want to see that done twice. You are told that x squared minus 4 is a factor of fx equals x to the 4th plus 12x squared minus 64. Use that fact to completely factor it over the complex number system. I forgot about this guy. So literally there's a question there. WTF is the complex number system. It's the reals and the imaginaries. Now, I've got this in a section on synthetic division. Is x squared minus 4 linear? So I shouldn't be able to do synthetic division with it. Why can't I? Because it factors. How does x squared minus 4 factor? Come on, baby. How's it? Are those linear? If you think about them individually, yes, they are. What are your x values? 2 and -2. What are the coefficients in the second floor? Nope. 1 is right. 0 placeholders. 1, 0, 12. No. 0. -64. Did the equation have any x cubes? No. Did it have any x's? Gotta have placeholders. Which one you want to do first? 2 or 19? Find that. Drop. Multiply. You add. Multiply. And you add. You multiply. And you add. You multiply. And you add. Since you got a 0, can you do it again? Yeah. But this time, what are you going to use? -2, the other one. I'm low on time, that's why I'm doing it. -2 times 1 is -2. -2 and 2 is 0. -2 and 0 is 0. 16 and 0 is 16. -32. What are you left with? X squared plus what? 16. That doesn't necessarily factor, but you can set it equal to 0 and figure out what your x's are. It does factor, it's just you haven't been taught how to do that. It's not plus or minus 4, if we're doing it in shift the 16 over, it becomes negative. X is plus or minus the root of -16. What is that? Imaginary what? Plus or minus what? Plus or minus 4 what? I. You can write 2 factors from that. If 4i is a 0, what's the factor? If 3 is a 0, what's the factor? If 4i is a 0, what's the factor? It's minus 4i. If negative 4i is a 0, what's the factor? It's plus 4i. And you've got these two that go along with it. All right, there you go. Again, you have a form quiz tomorrow. Long-term memory take a long time. Why are you bringing it on? If you want to be competitive, my guess is Aubrey Hodge will probably get up there about 90 something. You should be competitive. You should never acknowledge that somebody might be better than you. Ever. You won't have eternity on that form quiz.